what made you decide to focus more on getting you this? The narrative has shifted a lot with you. It seems to be very much like time, family, work-life balance, lifestyle, business. What was that? What was the catalyst for that?
Well, in my first 10 years of business, one of the big things that's always resonated was buying leads and paying £20,000 a month. When my first daughter was born in 2012, I was back to work 3 days after she was born because I had to. In 2016, I wanted to do things differently, but going down the rabbit hole of mentors and masterminds and the whole personal development journey and hanging around with people who had got, 10, 20 million pound a year businesses with hundreds of staff. I thought for a long period of time that was what I wanted. And then on the 21st of July, 2021, my mum had to go in for an emergency bowel operation. And that then brought on Alzheimer's and dementia. And on the 2nd of January, 2022, she was given 48 hours to live, but she actually had COVID at the time, but she hadn't been able to communicate since the early part of December. So from December right the way through till April when she passed, we just had to basically watch her vegetable. But I couldn't be in the business. I wanted to be around my mum. I wanted to be there to help my dad and all that kind of stuff. And, when my mum passed, we had the funeral a month later. Then some family stuff in relation to the will and probate, because I'm an executor and I will 100% honor my mum's wishes, which caused a few arguments and rows. And then obviously my baby turned up at 32 weeks in the 1st of December. So, that sort of 18 months was the most emotional 18 months of my life. But it made me slow down. It made me stop for the first time ever, because particularly when you first go self-employed, and as I mentioned earlier, when you start out with a mindset in 2016 of I've got to make this work, I need to do 9 till 9. I've always kind of worked smart as well as hard, but I always have been, as I'm sure some of you are too, you're on a bit of a hamster wheel. And it's like, it's constant and it's never ending. And the children never made me realize. And I'd never, my mum is the first relative close to me that I've actually lost. And it just became that big thing of, I think, also approaching 40, which was, funnily enough, the week before my mum had her bowel operation. I'd just gone through this journey of like, right, this has been my first 40 years. What do I want for my next 40 years? Do I want to carry on being on this hamster wheel? Do I want to be constantly sprinting all day, every day? And ironically, I'd probably say since around about November, December, partly because of my coach that I work with, who's a mindset coach more than anything else. I don't have mentors for knowledge anymore, because actually I've got the knowledge. I just need to, essentially what she's helped me do is slow down in order to be able to speed up. And one of the things that I have actually learned, and I would urge everybody to do, if you spent the first 2 hours of your Monday working out what the actual highest priority activities are that you need to do that day and that week, and really just took time out, especially at the moment while it's nice and sunny outside, and actually just sat there and thought, right, if I did nothing else this week is going to be smashed. If I do these 2 or 3 things, I guarantee you would get so much more results rather than having a humongous to-do list where things just never seem to get ticked off or stuff is left unfinished, because implementation and action is the only thing that moves you forward. And that's really what's kind of transitioned and changed. I will build a £50 million a year business, because I've come to realize that actually my journey is not 12 months long or 24 months long. My journey is 40 years long. And in realizing actually that there's no time pressure, we put that pressure upon ourselves, and actually saying this is about the journey, not just the destination. And along that journey, I'm not going to miss sports day. I'm going to drop my kids off when I want to. I'm going to pick them up when I want to. We're going to go out for meals. We're going to have nice holidays. We're going to live a lifestyle that's supported by the business that I want to build, or the businesses that I want to build. You actually start to realize, why are we only focusing on the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months? When you kind of start to realize that it's a long game, not a short game. A sprinter can only sprint for 100 meters under 10 seconds, but a marathon runner can run 26 miles at, 15, 16 kilometers an hour. You run on a treadmill for 15 kilometers an hour and see how long you can do it. I'm about 2.5 minutes, and they do it for 26 miles. So it's like, put that into perspective. If and it took me bloody years to realize this. Like, I started my business in 2006, and we go into, we're great advisors, and I've learned leadership and structures and systems and processes. And we become business owners, but actually we're not taught how to build or run a business. And I've had a great life over the course of the pandemic. It ran itself. The advisors are external, everything else. But now building the employed team out, I'm doing it in a way whereby at the moment I'm going through my short-term pain period, is what I call it. I got rid of my operations manager. I've got a new PA who's now in her 4th week. I've got an advisor who joined me last week. We've got an event we're running next week. I've got training courses that I need to run and everything else. But by the time I get to 31st of July, I'll go on holiday for 10 days. I'll check my laptop for an hour every day, and I will be on holiday. And when I come back, everyone would have had 10 days on their own, and the thing will work and be efficient, and I'll get some time back at that point in time. So short sprints along that journey of a marathon is what kind of transitioned and changed, because life is the most important thing.
I love that. I mean, we could unpack that. We'll do a whole bloody episode on that. It's so powerful and so true.
Thank you very much indeed for being a fan of the show. Really appreciate it, and would love for you to take a moment to leave a rating and or a review on your favored podcast channel. It helps us to get higher up the charts. It enables the team to see your feedback, and it's really useful when we want to get bigger guests to provide you with the education, inspiration, and motivation that you need to build a better lifestyle and earn the income that you desire.
One more question I want to ask you about this. You've opened up about that then. When you decided to make that shift, you had that catalyst, what were some of the obstacles that you faced at the beginning? Because that's like an entire 180 on your entire philosophy of life. Like it's the content that you would put out and the message you put out was like, it was like someone else had written it. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? This is so different to what I've ever seen from you before. What were some of those initial obstacles? What were some of the mental, actually physical? What were some of those things that you came up against when making that shift?
It's a really difficult question, actually, Ash.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
One of the things that I did do, because I actually, when my mum was going, I was very unemotional and completely logical about the whole thing. So I've never actually shared this anywhere else, but I went through we've got the Priory, which is a major mental health hospital in Essex. So I actually went through the process of being tested. I thought I was ADHD, but actually it turns out I'm autistic.
Oh, wow.
And quite high on the spectrum as well. And I didn't realize, a lot in my childhood, I used to spend a lot of time masking and all these things that I now realize and everything else. And that's why I'm so laser focused. I'm either in or out.
That would make a lot of sense for how successful you are in frameworks and things like that.
I'm process driven and all that kind of stuff.
Hugely.
And I have got social, I'm pretty socially awkward. I don't, as much as you see me on socials and all that kind of thing, unless I'm standing on a stage.
No, you're super awkward in real life.
Oh yeah. Hate it. But yeah, I speak without thinking and do things without thought and blah, 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 blah. So I think one of the things that kind of happened was when I was going through that process, I actually just stayed true to what I think is really important, which is we only get one body, we only get one mind. And if you get the mental and the physical right, then everything else begins to take care of itself. So I still stuck to my routines of the gym every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I still went for my walks. I still ate good food. I drank lots of water. I don't really drink because it's a depressant. I still spoke to a few friends and said, hey, look, I was a shit friend when you lost your parent because I'm going through it right now. And I had no idea what you went through. And I should have phoned you more. And that, I did all those kind of things to sort of reconnect and realize, although I am massively socially awkward in most instances, and my head never stops internally, constantly worrying and stressing and everything else. It just became a process of, fundamentally, we do these things for our why, which is, yes, we want to help our clients. Yes, we want to live a certain lifestyle. But fundamentally, I want my kids to grow up and know that their dad was around whilst having nice holidays rather than anything else. So it was just a case of, probably like anything that people have seen in my journey, whatever's happening at that point in time is the best thing since sliced bread. So much like the will writing business that got closed very quickly because it was shit, much like the network idea that was a massive failure after 8 months. And people don't want to be sold a network. They want to move when they've got a pain, but there's too much competition out there, I'm afraid. If you're thinking about starting a network, don't do it. And really actually looking at your business and saying, why did I start this thing? What do I want it to achieve? Who best can I help? And then just realigning to, you need to realign to that every year, because otherwise you make decisions based on emotion rather than based on logic. And without a strategy or a design or some solid foundations, you can't grow in the right way.